And what you become is a fragmented church, and rather than being whole, you assess your legitimacy on which side of the brokenness you stand. When God, Jesus, will you be made whole? And the use of the mind, you see, ecstasy is not irrational. Spirit is not irrational. What spirit does is touch the mind to the degree that dimensions of consciousness have been dormant are now activated, and you begin to think with a whole mind rather than a messed up mind, and your normal communication and your perceptive categories are no longer a function of limited consciousness, and you can even dream dreams and see visions, not because you've lost your mind, but because the Holy Ghost has blown your mind.
Y'all gotta listen.
No, come on, you understand? But we're around here fighting over whether we're going to study or whether we're going to just it be in the spirit. Spirit and study are a common act of worship.
I'm sorry, it's not a good view.
And here's, I just want to say a few things about what I see. I'm entering my 7th decade, you all, and I saw everybody else doing this, so I said I better do it too. Here. If we look at this Joshua story, where's my timekeeper? Oh, there it is. Okay, praise the God. She's already told me. Thank you very much. First of all, I want you to look at the beginning when Joshua is anointed and appointed by God. God affirms a transition in leadership. But look what he says. He says, Moses was my servant. Yeah. Guess what he just told you? Yeah. Don't you disrespect, dishonor the former leadership.
Wow.
Come on.
Wow.
They may not be here the way they were, but every time you stop and think about where you ought to recognize and honor the ones who went before you. And you may have young people all around you, but never teach them to disrespect elders. And always remind people, before there was a Joseph and a Mary, there was a Zachariah and an Elizabeth. The church is called to be interdisciplinary and intergenerational. One of the things I think we need to recover as we grow as churches and with the demographics we're trying to reach young folk is you have to teach young folk to respect their elders.
That's right. Okay.
Because that's the only commandment given with promise. Honor thy mother that thy days. And here's the reason why. Getting older, I recognize that. If you've raised a generation that doesn't respect elders and God blesses you to live, you're going to become what you've taught them not to respect.
Wow. Good morning.
Yes, sir.
And the very people you grew will put you out. No, he says this, but look, he says, but then he says, Moses is gone, now Joshua. God speaks to Joshua. God calls Joshua. God says, you are my leader. And look how he describes Joshua, who was a minister to Moses. What did it just tell you? Don't you think you can be a leader if you don't know how to follow somebody else? The beginning of powerful leadership is the capacity to minister with and for somebody else. And if your only agenda is for you to be ministered to, then you're not fit to be a leader.
That's right, sir. That's right.
Then he gives him direction. He says, here's what I want you to do as my leader. I want you to get in my word. I want you to meditate on it day and night. And I don't want you to depart or the left or right. Let me just say this for a moment. The meditation is get this down in you. Just don't be a scripture quoter. Get this word down and meditate on it. Let it get down into the core of your being so that you don't say words, you live words.
Amen.
And person and a midnight creeper.
Wow.
What it just said is my commitment to the word is not a function of temporality, so that certain times I can deviate from that which I have meditated upon. I'm not a seasonal believer. You find me in every context. You will find me in the Word. Amen. Take me to the conference in the Word. See me when I'm out with my friends in the Word. So what we're really saying is that the time does not dictate my commitment, nor my demonstration. But then it says neither to the left or the right. That's what I just told you. Don't get caught up in shifts that take you one way or this way. Don't jump on bandwagons where you're more inclined to do what somebody else is doing rather than being directed by my word. Because I have a word for your situation, and what somebody else is doing may not be the word for you. And if you're not in my word, then you're following people and movements. Don't go. And then look, here's the real paradigm shift in leadership. Look what God says. And I will be with you. Mm-hmm. Everything that's going to happen is because I'm with you. Look what God does. He establishes the character of leadership. It is the capacity to be with folk.
There you go. Wow.
God is saying, if I've called you and I've established that it's my nature to be with, if you're really mine, you ought to whip like me. Now look, come on. In the beginning, read the scripture. God was with us, and you walked with him in the garden. The idea of God being over you is introduced by a snake who introduces a threatened God who wants to keep you down. When the God who was with you breathed the breath of life into you and was releasing godness into you so that you could be all that you can be. You are not strong when you have to be over folk and you can't be with them, because that means other folk threaten you. But when you know who you are, you can release what's in you so somebody else can be all that they can be. Come on, work with me. See, we think of leadership as what? And I love you, but there's some folk right here now. The only reason they're here is because they're trying to move up and get over something.
Wow. I'm so sorry.
And if your goal is to get over, you're not spiritually mature enough to lead anything in the body of Christ. Work with me. Because, see, can I do this now? I won't have time to do everything I plan to do, but we'll do what we're going to do. Look. The demonic takes us from being with God to worshiping a God as well. Then the modality of our relationships is over-under. That's a slave-master mentality. Color up here, others down here. And it's your job to stay in your place. And you distort God's design so that when you get out of your place, you're disrupting what God designed. When it's not God's design, it's your fallen design. And now your purpose is not to glorify God, but to maintain your position. Because once his position gives you privilege, you don't want the truth. You want to keep your privilege.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
Now look. Work with me. Now, can I get real bad? If your wife is under you because you're over her, that means there's somebody else that can get closer to her than you. Come on, can we say, wait a minute? That's right, wait a minute. Look, stop and look. God said the two shall be one. Sin fragmented and separated. Now the relational modality of separation is hierarchy. Because the imago Dei, which drives us to relationship, is not destroyed by sin, but it distorts the character of relationship that is not within our imago Dei. Look, so when we get back together, we don't come back like this, we come back like this, and then we call it God's way, when in fact this model was not God's way. It is the function of the curse. You get like this when you, after you fall, and a cursed relationship looks like this, a man up here and a woman down there. What if we bring people to the church not to live into the Christ, but to live into the curse? Come on. And see, then once you embrace this model, you're not going to do it. Now, come on. See, now, why did I say somebody getting closer to you? If you are leading the people like this, there's somebody else who will come in and be with them while you're over them.
Wow.
Come on. Y'all, I'm a little crazy. Let me tell you something. Huh? There are some men right now, brothers, can I just get on or something? That right now there's some sister said, you've been in this house for 20 years, but you've never been with me.
Wow. Wow.
And I ache for somebody to be with me.
Wow.
Can I show you something?
Yikes.
You can't experience intimacy in a hierarchy.
Yikes.
Intimacy, intimacy. I can't look into you while I'm looking down on you.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow.
You can't see into the people that you're leading to really discern how to develop a word if you're looking down on them and all they do is look up. It means that I know no one who's with me. And if you don't believe me, guess what? When Jesus came into the world, he was Emmanuel, God with us. He came to correct our distorted understanding of God so that we would recognize that the modality of God is relational and with, not up and down. And when he goes, he says, lo, I will be with you. And then we're being tutored to say what? When I lead, I get above.
That's
when
true.
leadership calls you to be deeply with.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
When you lead with the with mentality,
Yes, sir.
God promises, I'm going to give you good success. That's my promise. Because we with. And you'll be with them like I'm with you.
Yeah.
Then immediately, because he's with God, when he talks about the vision and where he doesn't say, I'm going to take you. He say, come on, let me show you where I'm taking y'all. He says, let me show you where God is taking us. Let me show you what God has promised us. Let us experience what God is doing in the midst of us. Follow me. And there's something, if you read the article, talked about the paradigm shift requires constant analysis, examination, and evaluation of what you're doing. And look what the first thing they did before they moved to promise. They made an assessment of an analysis of the place they were going and an assessment of the demographics and the reality they would have to engage when they got there. That's why I sent spies. Go check this thing out. Now, I know God promised it, but we need to know what's happening there before we step into the promise. Can I tell you one of the amazing things you discover? Once you begin to discern where God is moving, you will discover resources you didn't know you had.
Yeah.
Guess what he discovered? He discovered God can rehab a rehab.
Amen.
See, when you start looking, you'll discover there's some folk that you thought were beneath you and were no good, and some folk that couldn't help you. The very people that were put down were the ones that enabled you to get up. That's good news.
That's good news.
Because some of us who are preaching are rehabbed.
That's true.
Gotta know who you are.
And a time on them, we can get deep into that. But look what he says. Here's what I want to show you what a good leader does. Immediately when they start moving toward the vision, he doesn't say, I got this. Follow me. He says, where are my priests? Sometimes to be an effective leader, you got to recognize the other resources in your midst and empower them to do what they can do when you shouldn't be trying to do it. Oh, y'all listening? You're listening. You're listening. See, if Joshua would have stepped in the water, they would all drown. Oh, y'all. What if he said, I'm in charge. I got this. Follow me. No, he listened to God. The God said, before you step in there, bishop, archbishop, senior prelate, before you step in, speak to the priest and let them go before you. Come on.
Wow.
Good leaders are not threatened by somebody else who's called to a purpose being in front.
That's right.
Huh? Because when you know God called you, can I make it real plain to you? Do you ever notice when Jesus sent out the disciples, he said, I send you with power? If you are fighting to get power or preserve power, you must not have been with Jesus. Anytime you fight for power, you're empowering the people you're fighting to think that they got some power you want. The only power I want is the power that God gave me when he sent me out in the first place. Come on, do you see? He says, now you all go ahead. Go ahead. Now here's where you have to you have to deal with this. Is that immediately when they start going forward, you don't follow priests because they have an office. They were followed because they were lifting the covenant box. The covenant box is the tangible symbols of God's presence. And I can't follow anybody, no matter what your title is or what your rank is, if you're not lifting the presence of God. Because you think I'm following you, but I'm following your covering.
That's right.
Because every step you take.
That's right.
And if you are not lifting the presence of God, I don't care what your title is. Don't expect me to step into a dangerous situation because you go. But if you lift the power of God, I lifted and I'm covered by God. Let me make you real something. You got to realize how important it is just to spend time with God.
Love you.
You understand what I'm saying? Spend time with God. Go to every moment like this you can, but make sure you got a deep devotional life where you're spending time with God. And you got to be very, very careful. There are people now who will fire you for spending time with God.
Yes, sir.
Do you remember when Moses went to the mountain to pray? And he stayed too long? Huh? And while he was away, the church folk went to an assistant pastor. They said, look, you preach better than him or her anyway. But look what they said. What they really said, will you preach us the messages we'd like to hear?
Watch it, sir.
They knew where he was. They saw him go into the presence of God. The presence was so powerful they couldn't go where it was going. But when he stayed too long, they said, let's get rid of it. See, when you start developing your sermons from spending time with God and don't get them off the internet, do you understand what I'm saying?
Oh, yes, sir.
See, the problem is that every time he went to God, he came back with a word from God.
Right.
And they didn't like the word that came from God. So we're going to find somebody who will give us the word we like. Come on. But not only did he bring a word back from God, he brought back a responsibility for the people. And a lot of folk who love God don't want responsibility to honor God and then just make me feel good. Tell me I'm all right. And if you don't understand that, look what they did. When they came out of bondage, they came with more wealth than they did when they went in, didn't they? When there was come time to make a god, what did they make it out of? Their jewelry. They formed an idol out of their possessions, then went to worship and bowed to their possessions. So while you were saying, worship me, God, you were bowing to your blessings.
Wow.
And are we raising people who now bow to their blessings from God rather than the God who blessed them?
Amen.
They said, let's worship God. And what did they do? Bow to the idol made from their blessings. And read it closely, y'all. Read it. And it said they went to church, got drunk, and had an orgy. And notice the sequencing of the drunken and the orgy. You would never let me orgy you if you didn't drug me first.
Wow. Wow.
So before I do to you what I'm doing to you, I drug you with something that will anesthetize you to your victimization so I can have a new plantation called the church.
Wow. Wow.
Blame Bishop Walker. We got to be very, very careful. There's ours not an authentic message of deliverance, but a message that gives people comfort in their bondage. And as long as we do that, it privileges us because we don't have the courage to take a risk to provide a word that comes from the Lord. And I don't mean that as judgment. I mean it as a call and a challenge. Now look what happens. Look what happens. Look what happens. The minute you get right with God, trouble in my way. See, that's counterintuitive. What we would preach now, if you get right with God, everything gonna be all right. Huh? And he's all right, ain't he all right? Say it. Yeah, no. But look what the text says. It says, the minute we start moving toward promise, something's in my way. Here's the great lesson of leadership. If you're on your way, expect something to be in your way. Because if nothing's in your way, you must be trifling in your leadership.
Wow. Wow.
What do I mean by that? Once you start moving to God, there are forces that don't want to see the promise of God fulfilled.
Lord Jesus.
And if nothing's in your way, it means your existence is not a threat to the design of the demonic. But once you get enough power to be moving where God wants you to move, somebody's going to try to block your way. Come on, you understand?
That's
and
right.
if nobody's trying to block you, you must not be going anywhere in the first place.
That's right.
So guess what? You get me? That sometimes when trouble gets in your way, you shouldn't be moaning and complaining. You ought to be saying, thank you, God, that I've grown so much. Thank you that now somebody trying to stop us from getting where I'm trying to go. Now, I don't want to get into politics, but you need to get into politics. Do you understand why we're seeing what we're seeing in the election now?
No, man.
It's not because you failed. It's because you got places where they weren't supposed to go, and you got too much power. Now somebody said we got to stop this. We got to put an end to this. We got to stop this. We got to take us back. Come on. See, trouble gets in your way because you're on your way. And I understand that. Now, but can I show you something about leaders? No matter what the obstacle is, leaders can always see the promise even when confronted with an obstacle. Yeah. Can I show you something? Have you ever read the text in Joshua the 3rd chapter? And it says, the river was at flood at harvest time. Y'all miss me. See, we juxtapose flood and harvest. You're even having a harvest or a flood. But what the Bible just told you, that sometimes harvest and flood occupy the same space. And are you a leader that knows how to bring a harvest out of a flood?
Wow. Wow.
Even when you're blocked, can you reach a harvest? Come on, can you see it? Huh? And so what did he do? He went back to what brought him. He told them, you all worship God. Priest, you go before us. And you step in. Now, I got to skip over a lot of stuff. But let me just show you through these things. Where was the leader at that point? Where was Joshua? When they're crossing, you don't see where Joshua. The people that God has empowered, that he's commanded them what to do, you see them, but you don't see him. Because guess what they do? He let them do what they do.
Wow.
And he's just there saying, now make sure you follow the command. I know what the command is. I know where we're trying to go. But I want to show you the leader. See, the leadership role shifts. And the priests now are leading. Who went in first? Did Joshua say, no. When the priest stepped in the water, carrying the covenant box, what happened? What? They'd been spoken to by a leader who had not threatened and gave them the power to exercise the power that God had given them. And he didn't try to step where he shouldn't have been stepping.
Bless you. Praying for you every day. And your son.
Where were they at first? In the front. And they were there lifting up God. But look what happens in the text. The location of their leadership shifted. From the front to the what? The middle. As long as the priest stood in the middle, standing on dry ground, everybody crossed over. This is what the Bible just told you. Once I make a way for you, you get in the middle of something, don't forget who brought you. Keep me in the middle. Don't you start a ministry and it begins to grow and then all of a sudden you think it's you and not me. Stand in the middle of where you're going. Lift up me in the middle of it. And guess what? They stood where? On dry ground. Now, when you do all this exegetical study, it will say, well, see, the river was flooding and the banks were soft and the brushing water deflected and caused banks to collapse, which formed a natural levee, which diverted the stream away from its normal process. So, therefore, it was not really a miracle. It was a function of a natural response within the meteorological realities and the geological realities of that context. But the bottom line is, if you don't accept that miracle, accept this. Why was the ground dry? If you give me a reason for why it stopped flowing, why was ground underwater dry?
Right.
That's what God just told you. When I make a way for you, I make a way. If you stay in my way, you will not have to experience some of the difficulty you would have to experience if you step out of my way. Because if you get in your mud, you're going to get bogged down. Guess what, leaders? Once God makes a way for you, don't start playing in the dirt. There are always going to be people and situations that invite you to the dirt. Can I tell you what some of the dirt looks like? When people invite you to criticize, put down, and negate another preacher.
That's true.
Amen. Stay out of the dirt. How do you expect the people to stay out of the dirt when the leaders are playing? Stay on the dry ground. Come on. Go where? Now they're in the middle. Huh? And they stood in the middle to what? All the people crossed over. Did you see it? So guess what? Your leadership is not positional, it's purposeful. If God gives you a purpose to get all the people over, you don't run out somewhere until everybody gets over. You don't leave folk behind and only have a select few that you're concerned with. Never mind. All the people got over. And my time won't permit me to go into detail of how we tend to leave some folk behind. And sometimes you got to go ahead of them to bring them. Other times you got to stand in the middle. But look, when all the people got over, where was the leader at this point? Behind them. Where's the leader? The front, the middle, and the back. And if you can't change your position in terms of what you do in leadership because your position doesn't allow you to be somewhere else, you're not a leader, you're upholding a position. But whenever you're in a position, you ought to uphold a purpose. And your purpose is to get the people to the other side, not for you to keep your position.
Wow.
Positions are dynamic. Can I make it? I'm going to get in trouble. If you can't do a menial job in order to get the job done, Can I tell you? See, I honor Bishop Morton. I honor Overseer all. I honor them. But guess what? I honor all of you all. And if I can treat them one way and treat you another way, then I'm not operating in the spirit. I'm operating in the high. Can I have you understand something? Each one of us is a unique instance of divine dexterity. God made it. Never was anyone like you, never will be another one like you. God doesn't have some mold that he stamps out a model every 5, 10. That's why you don't try to imitate other people. Because when God called you, there's a unique gift in you that the world will never have. If you are not authentic in your own expression in your gift, other folk can guide you in the exercise of the gift, but you got to live into that gift based upon what God has done. When God called you, there's something in you that is in nobody else. No two zebras or tigers have the same stripes. No two leopards have the same spots. No two flowers have the exact same fragrance or the exact same color. No two leaves have the exact same design. No two snowflakes have the exact same design. The bottom line is that none of us have the same voice imprint. None of us have the same retinal rod configuration in our eye. None of us have the same palm print, the same fingerprint, the same DNA markers, meaning that you're a unique instance of what God, you're not one in a million. You're one that ever was and ever will be. So when I disrespect you and don't honor you, I'm not disrespecting you. I'm disrespecting the God that made you. And the reason I met you is God wanted you to pass through my life to be blessed by the singularity of your existence. Thank you, Bishop.
I like it.
Thank you, Bishop. Why? God has done something and allowed me to be touched by something others will be touched by, because God did a unique thing when God did you.
Yeah.
I got 6 sons. One of them swears he's a lover. The sad thing, sisters, he's always can find a woman to nourish his illusions.
Right. That's right. Always. Always. Absolutely.
Come on. He'll say things.
Absolutely.
Oh, baby, you one in a million.
Mm-hmm.
Huh? And I tell you, you just insulted her. There are over 300 million people in the United States of America. And if you just make it 50-50, you just told me there's 150 just like you, and if you don't work, I get one of them. Mm-hmm. If you see her as one in a million, it means you're still on the prowl.
Wow.
She is the one. Right. No. All right, my time is quickly going. Let me just say, be sure we understand all the people. And let me just finish with these comments. I try to be faithful to both assignment and the time. I respect time. I know the Spirit does things, but I respect it. God cannot stop every attack on you as a leader, because the attack is a function of your fidelity and your ministry being a threat to the demonic. Yes. Some things are going to come against it. If it's not in your church, it's going to be outside the church. There are going to be folk in the political arena. Oh, we can't let them build.
That's right.
Oh, no, we can't. Come on. But God doesn't stop every attack. Because if he stops every attack, he has to stop your growth.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
That's good.
Come on, you understand it?
Mm-hmm.
Can I be honest? Can we stop faking and perpetrating and act like we never go through anything?
Right.
And Brother Oliver, one of the things he said is that we're at a point, the paradigm shift is stop trying to be Superman and Superwoman and acknowledge your own vulnerabilities. Acknowledge, guess what? Your house goes through problems. Come on now.
That's right.
I don't care how much you love the Lord, how much you pray. Even in your own house, you're going to have some days. Lord, what have I gotten myself? No.
That's
See,
right.
y'all can't do that. I don't care. Guess what? You can love the Lord all you want, and your children still go to puberty and act out. Amen. God can't stop the attack because that's a sign of your growth. And as I bring this to a close, let me show you something. God never stops an attack, but God does alter the intended outcome of the attack.
All right.
2 things I want to show you. First of all, when you're dealing with a threat as a leader, never focus on the threat. Most of us, when we get a threat, that's all we want to talk about. Every meeting, every discussion about this is wrong, this is wrong. If you get a speck down in this bottle, you know how most of us handle conflict and difficulty? We see the speck and try to shake it out. Look what happens. By the time you finish, you've lost all the good. And now your church is identified by the problem and not by the presence. Come on. So if you want to get some mess out of your church, don't try to shake it out. Let some more Holy Ghost come in there and drive it out. See, if I put this under a faucet and let more water come in, eventually the inflow will create an outflow to get the mess out. And if you spend all your time trying to pour the mess out, you'll destroy your church. Say, Holy, come, Holy Spirit, fill us. Last thing. And when the threat comes, I have my grandsons and I take them on walks. I'm walking with them and we're walking, nice little walk. They never want to hold your hand. They run ahead of me. But there's a gate open with a pit bull running toward the gate. When the pit bull came running and barking, they all ran back to me. Papa, we gotta cross the street. We gotta cross the street. That pit bull gonna get us. That dog gonna get us. It's snarling. It's nasty. I said, no, just keep walking. And one of them, I got one of them. He grabbed my leg, got me up where the dog was, got behind my leg and looked at the dog and said, sometimes when you're holding the right leg, you can find a whole lot of courage. Look, y'all, look. I say keep walking. They're scared and say, no, we got to stop. We got to turn around and go back. Or we got to cross. I say keep walking. See, I had a vantage point that they didn't have. I was tall enough to see over the fence and see that the pit bull was on a sliding leash. No, y'all miss me.
Got it.
Sometimes when you're under attack, just stay in your lane. And if you stay in the lane, what's trying to get you can't get you. The only way it can get you is to get out your lane. And the bottom line is they try too hard to get you. God's got your enemy on a leash, and they'll be trying to get you and end up choking themselves. Where's the leader? In the back, in the middle, in the front. You stay in God's lane.
Hey y'all, hope that was good. Sorry I didn't have a really good vantage point. I might get in trouble for spoken, but y'all heard it. Love you. Talk to y'all later.